Hi, Boker Tov, everybody. Today is Thursday, the 27th of October, and we'll carry on from, we're doing our regular series, which is Chassidut, Rav Kook, and Gemara, and we'll carry on from where we left off yesterday, which is we're in Amud Tefillah, since it's Parshat Noach. So in the middle of Parshat Noach, in the Baal Shem Tov, because the word Teva appears in, not appears, that's the whole point in the Parsha of Noach, is the Teva, which is the ark, and Teva also means word in Hebrew. So, as is the way in Chassidut, they take off on the word Teva, and in, of course, well, I guess in all ways of looking at davening, but especially in the Hasidic way of encouraging davening with kavanah, one should be paying very close attention to every word, like every word. As I've told you many times, in one of the things in Chassidut, one of the people there brags about how he jumps into the word feet first. Like there's so much emphasis on the word, and of course it's not as simple. And so he jumps in feet first. He's all the way into the word, but of course it's not quite as simple as that. Because while every word must be said with kavanah and with deep conviction, nonetheless, it has to be a part of the phrase, and that phrase has to be a part of the greater picture. But at any rate, let us carry on.
Hi.
Yo.
I read also that Teva means water, and that it is Torah.
Teva means hotel.
Water.
Water.
Teva means water?
Yeah, I last second.
The Teva is on the water. That's what she's saying, Chaim.
Yeah, the
Teva is in the water.
I found it because I bought a few years ago sandals, the mark Teva, and it is from Israel, and I watch what it means.
Oh, Teva.
And Teva. It also, it's also water, and that means Torah.
Oh, I don't know about what you're talking about. Is you bought sandals that were Teva? Is that true?
Yeah, and I thought that Teva means word, ark, and water.
No, it
well,
means
I
nature.
don't know. Teva means that kind of Teva means nature.
This is a Teva. It's spelled differently. It's a different word.
It's spelled differently. This is Teva.
Oh.
That is Teva with a tet. And that is called Teva because, they think it's a more natural way of walking. It follows, as you know, that's part of the advertisement for those sandals, that it takes the shape of your foot.
Yeah, that's very good.
The sandal takes the shape of your foot, and it's a comfortable, more natural way of walking.
Oh, but it's not the same. Okay.
All right. Anyway, so let us go on from where we left off yesterday. So it says in the Parsha about the Teva, about the ark, Noah's ark. Funny way, Teva, ark. I mean, we get it from the time that we're small, and it comes natural. But what is an ark? We don't use it in any context other than this, I don't think. Anyway, velama tichalena milamala, and fix it to within a amma. An amma is this is an amma from your elbow to the middle of your hand. For a normal adult, normal sized adult, and that in centimeters I can't say, but usually we say in the way we used to say in Canada, United States, not the metric system, that is 1.5 feet. So it's within 1.5 feet, this distance here from the top of the teva. That's where they put the window. Hainu. Since there's Amma, he says Hainu Ima. Amma sounds like Ima. This is Hasidut, right? O yesh lomar achar sheyatza teva mipiv ein tzarich liskor ota lahalan. Or maybe one can say that once the word teva has come out of one's mouth, one doesn't have to say it anymore in the future. Va'inyan, and what does that mean? Shelo yireh sheholechet l'makom gavoa. One doesn't have to be conscious of the fact that it's going up to a high place. Dugma she'ein yachol lerot b'shemesh v'zeu techalena milamala. Oh, it's up in pretty high from the top. It's like you don't look at the sun, so you don't have to pay attention to how high that window is from the top. Ubama ta yachol lasot kein. Ba ata v'chol beitecha elateva bo ata. You and all of your household should come into the arkainu v'chol gufecha v'kochacha tavo elateva. And there's that idea we're talking about with prayer, that with all of your body and with all of your strength, come into the word. In other words, concentrate on the word. And as is intuitively obvious to everyone, if you're really concentrating on the word with all of your koach, and you're doing, as I said, I'll say it again, and not just the word, and where the word appears, in the stream of the sentence, of the phrase that it's in, and everything like that, then you don't have room in your mind to constantly, to have what we call those, remember, the machshavot zarot, hirhurim zarim, the other types of thoughts that take you away, things of having to do with business and maybe sexual fantasy and resentments, and I'll get back to him and who knows what. If you're really, really putting all of your kochot into every word, well, then you have to be there. And Chassidut puts, prayer is important, and every aspect of Judaism looking into prayer, but Chassidut puts extra importance into the prayer, because if you're really, really doing it, then you achieve intimacy with Hashem, and closeness to Hashem is what you want, and closeness to Hashem, which is exactly what we want, while you're focused on the events and the things of this world, because you're praying for the things of this world. It's not cut off from this world. So if one really does it in that way, what an amazing communication it is with the eternal. Let's go on to the next one. Tet Zayin in Amud HaTfilah. B'tfilah tzarich lasum kol kocho b'diburim. Here he says it again. In prayer, you have to put all of your power into the words. Just a minute. Let me make sure that maybe Sydney's trying to get in. Just a minute. I know Sydney usually comes a little later. Oh, how do you like that? Sydney is trying to get in. Sorry, Sydney. Yeah, I wish it would show up on the screen. I mean, you have to check every once in a while if anyone else is trying to get in. Okay. Hi, Sydney.
Okay.
So he says, and went into the next one, and he's just going over the theme of the last one. You have to put all of your power, all of your concentration into the tevot. the same word for Noah's Ark, into the words. V'yelech kach me'ot la'ot ad sheyishkach b'gufaniyut. And you go from letter to letter until you forget physicality. So remember that it's a bit of a balancing act that we're doing. We're trying to get past our consciousness of our physicality, but on the other hand, we're trying to be very conscious of the events in our physical world, in our personal physical world, because that's the way, that is, if you like, the vehicle that takes us to that intimacy with Hashem. Because the things in this world, of course, for we hope that for the most part the things of this world are going along smoothly. But as you know, there are plenty of things to daven for, and God forbid, if it isn't things in our lives and with our family and everything like that, like the world itself needs our davening. In these days, you got the war in the Ukraine, and innocent people are suffering and everything like that. And in Israel, you got an election in a few days. And we have plenty of problems here with terrorists and with widows and orphans and children who are going to bed unfed and everything like that. There's no end of things in this world to daven for, but one should be so involved in the words, in the phrases, concentrating so much that one forgets one's physicality while using the events of this world as a vehicle to get to that kind of intimacy with Hashem. V'yachshov sha'otiyot mitztarfim mitchabrim ze im ze. And one should have in mind that the letters are joining each other, connecting with each other. V'zeu tanu gadol. And says the Baal Shem Tov, it's a great delight to be able to kind of kick oneself free of one's physicality while concentrating on the letters and the words of the tefillah. And we talked a while about the importance of letters, coming from speech, and speech breaks down into letters, and letters go back into words, and the words is what we're concentrating on. Dema im begashmiyut hu tanug, and if in a physical way it's a delight to pray in such a way, mikol shekain beruchaniyut, all the more so in spirituality. V'zeu olam hayitzira, and that is the world of Yitzira. In the worlds that are more or less accessible to us, Asiya, Yitzira, Bria, and Atzilut. So Yitzira is the second world. So we kind of kick ourselves free a little of Asiya. Asiya is the world of action that we're a part in. It means aseh, oseh, lasot, to do. V'char kach yavo la'otiot ha'machshava, and then you come to the letters of thought. V'lo yishma ma shehu medaber. And at that point, one does not hear anymore what one is saying, but although it's in one's mind, because one has kicked oneself free of the physical. V'zeu ba l'olama bria. And then one has come to the world of bria, to the next higher world. We are getting higher and higher in the direction of Atzilut, and in Atzilut we have intimacy with God. Atzilut is the world of love and goodness and justice and all of those things. Kachu ba lemidat ayin, and then one comes to the quality of ayin, of nothingness, so to speak. Shenit batel etzlo kol kochotav hagashmiyim. One becomes unaware of all of one's physical powers. V'zeu olam atzilut midat chochma, and that is the world of atzilut, the sfira, the midah of chachma, of wisdom. So, as I say, there's a bit of a paradox going on here, because while we become unaware of our physical bodies, but nonetheless, the vehicle for us getting to that high place and getting that connection with Hashem are the events of this world. The words that we say have to do with the events of this world. That's the vehicle for getting there. Okay, let us carry on. So it says in the Parsha, Tzoar taseh l'teva, make a window for the teva, for the ark, for the word, if you like. He'ir Adoni Avi Zakeni, the Baal Shem Tov said, and this is being said by Degel Machaneh Ephraim, who is, I believe, the grandson of the Baal Shem Tov, Nishmat Eden, whose soul, the Baal Shem Tov, whose neshama is in Gan Eden. Teva mirumaz al mila. Okay, we already said that. That teva represents a word. Shehu nikra teva. A word is called a teva. It's a synonym for word. V'zeu ma shamar tzoar taseh l'teva. And that's what it says. That's what it means when it says a window or tzohar, a brightness, make for the word. V'marhu zal shetera'eh laha'ir hateva hayotzeim mepicha. See that you bring light to the word that comes out of your mouth. Tachtiim, shniim, shlishim taseh. It says in the parsha, make a lower floor, a middle floor, and an upper floor, 3 floors. You'll make in the ark. You know, need a place for the animals, right? And then for Noah's family. Yesh lomar kan merumaz masha shemati min avi adoni zakeni. I want to say what I heard from the Baal Shem Tov, ki b'chol dibur v'dibur, in each and every word, yesh olamot neshamot ve'elohut. Okay, we've had this already. In each and every word, there are worlds, souls, upper souls, neshama, and godliness. V'zehu shemeramez kan etzla teva, and that's what's being symbolized here by teva. V'teva hu perush dibur v'zeu tachtim, and teva means word, and that means a lower floor, if you like. Hainu olamot shehu madrega tachtona, worlds which are, you know, in their simple form, the lowest level. Shniim hu loshen mishneh, mishneh otiyot neshama. Shniim, the second floor, is from the lashon memshi and nun hey, second, which are the otiyot of neshama, v'hainu neshamot, souls, upper souls, u'shlishim hainu elohut. And the third floor, the upper floor, that is godliness. Al shem hakatuv, like it says in the Parsha and Bishalach, u'shlishim al kulo. Shalishim al kulo, like leaders for everything. Shehu al yedei, shehu moshel, he's leading. He's controlling. Umanhi get the call. He's managing everything. The kol eila ta'aseya, and all of those different levels, you make them. Hainu, which is to say, hateva v'dibur shetatzi mepicha yeh b'chavana zo. The word that comes out of your mouth should be with that kavanah, u'bemunah shleima, and with full faith, sheish b'chol dibur tachtiim shniim u'shlishim. In every word, there should be those 3 levels, which are vehem olamot neshamot ve'elohut. The simple regular world, the world of souls, of upper souls, and godliness. So every word should be said with such kavanah that it includes basically all the essential things of this world. Kanal, v'havein, and you can understand. So you can see how there are of our rabbinic tradition those who whose prayer. Someone was saying how it took him an hour and a half to pray the Shmona Esrei. Well, actually, say an hour and a half was for the whole Shacharit, which in many shuls is like, as somebody told us in our shul, Baruch Hashem, it's not, but it's 25 minutes. So it took an hour and a half to do the whole Shacharit. As a matter of fact, I believe it was the Balatanya said, the first Lubavitcher Rebbe of Shneir Zalman, said that anyone who prays Shacharit less than an hour and a half, I don't want him to come to see me. As a Rebbe, I don't want him to come as a Rebbe to come to see me to, ask brachot and ask advice and whatever it is. If you don't do an hour and a half for all of Shacharit. So I know some of us are smiling now because modern Chabad minyanim daven very fast, and that, by the way, is not a negligence. It's not doing negligence. It comes out of well, I don't know if it comes directly out of this, but by the Kotzker Rebbe and that tradition where one of the Rebbes said, if I daven slow, I would love to be able to do that. It sounds like ideal, but all it does for me is allow space for me to space out. He didn't use the word space out. Of course, it allows me to think other thoughts, to have extraneous thoughts. And therefore, if I want to, and although, I agree with the Sfarim that the daven slow, how wonderful it is if you can really concentrate on every word in that way. But I find my davening is more effective if I do it fast, because then there's no room for the extraneous thoughts. And fast, by the way, as I was it? I don't think it was in this context of our shiur here, but maybe it was at my Sudah Shlishit. Someone was complaining about in some of the shuls how they daven fast, and unfortunately, and what I told them, and I told them the truth. I said, for example, in the Gerer yeshivas, Ger is known for davening fast. The Ger, the Simcha Binim and the Sfas Emes and everything. But what they teach the kids in the Cheders is daven fast, but with razor sharp precision in every word. And then you get, I don't want to start saying bad, but then you get places where I've been where they're not Hasidim anymore, but they have that tradition of davening really, really fast, but they lost the razor sharpness, and this is what she was complaining about. I see when they daven fast, it looks to me like they're just mumbling the words. One of our serious friends was saying, they're just mumbling the words. And unfortunately, I think she's right. At the beginning, this davening fast was in order to have razor sharp awareness of every word and the meaning of every word. And then when they got further away from that, then it just became a very fast davening, as many of us know that certainly I can tell you in other countries in the world, in Israel, things are generally a little better. I was reminded that when I first came to Israel, I was reminded by Tzvi Leshem that when I first came to Israel and we were in yeshiva together, Rabbi Bravender's yeshiva, I said, and it was true, I said, in Israel, a simple Sephardi minyan made up of working men, who work all day and then they come to mincha after a day's work, has as much kavana as a yeshiva davening in Chutz La'aretz. And I remember even saying that when he reminded me. But at any rate, if one, I believe that if one davens in Ger in Jerusalem, it's on Rehov Malchi Yisrael. I've davened there a few times. That there they really do, they do it quite fast, and they concentrate on every word. Okay. All right. So anyway, so he's getting into the main point that the Baal Shem Tov is saying is, forget your physicality by entering into every word. Just like Noah entered into the Teva, we have to enter into the word. He entered into the ark. We have to enter into the word. All right, let's keep going for a few more. This is Yud Chet in Amud Tefillah. So the Baal Shem Tov said, Tzor tasel l'teva, make a window. Sheyeh manhir hateva, that the word should shine, should have light. Ve'elama tichalenu melamala, and make that window close to the top, within 1.5 feet of the top. Perush shenotein mazon lashchina mimadregot shalamala. Give, it really means your concentration to the presence of God from a high level. Like the top of the Teva, the top of the ark, if a high level in one's own mind. Yutet, next piece. He heard from the Baal Shem Tov, who explained, Tzoar tasel l'teva, make a window for the ark, lasot tzoar min hateva shel torah utfilah, bring brightness in the word of Torah and the word of Tefillah, lerot u'listakel ima merosh olam v'ad sofo, to be able to see in the words of Torah and in the words of davening from one end of the world to the other. It's so bright, your concentration in it and the light that you bring to the world, that one can see from one end of the world to the other. Chaf in the Baal Shem Tov. So he says, the Baal Shem Tov explains, Tzoar tasel l'teva, Tzoar is light, the Teva lashon dibur, Teva means the word, Piresh, Perush, K'sheish Yisrael rotzel ledaber dibur, tzarich lerot, shemachshava ta'ir b'dibur b'tchila. When Ish Yisrael, I told you in this literature, means a Jew who's trying to do things right spiritually, halachically, obviously, then one has to make sure that one's thought is lightening up the word. Ki machshava otiyot chashav ma. Because the letters of machshava, if you switch them around a little bit, are think ma, think something of substance, and not just letting one's mind jump from here to there and everything else. Let's do another short one. 21. Amar Adoni Abi Sikeni. So the Baal Shem Tov said, it's again the Degel Machanei Ephraim. My grandfather said, Besod Tachtim Shniim Ushlishim, the lower floor, the middle floor, and the upper floor. Ubefeirish Amar Levakesh Meotiyot Hainu, that one should ask, request from the letters, Hainu Mesod Or Elohu Tasher Betocham, from the secret of the light of godliness that's within them, like be a part of that light of godliness that's in those letters, and ask out of that. So in all of these, the meaning, the tamtzit is, the summary is, Get into those words, and no other thoughts should be there. All of one's concentration should be in those words. Here, let's do another few. They're all short at this point. Chaf Bey 22 Levakesh minotiyot mamash. Ask of the otiyot themselves that they should, carry my kavanas, carry my thoughts to Hashem. Kamosha Shemati Perisho, like I heard from the Baal Shem Tov. Perish means Sod Eloha Shebehem, from the secret of God that's within them, from the hidden nature of God that's within those words. Shiur lahem, sheyazor lahem, ledaber haotiyot bekavanat emet lishma. That the words themselves should help a person say them with true kavanah and lishma, not to get any physical reward out of it or anything like that. And he takes it another step and he says, and if one does that, then all of the dinim, all of the nasty things, that all of the nasty forces that go on in this world will become sweetened at their source. Very important, at their source. I mean, we're used to that these days, from kind of the psychology that we learned and the psychology that that if someone has a psychological problem, what the therapist will say and what the wise citizens will say is, don't just deal with the symptom, deal with the source of it. If someone finds oneself in a state of agitation a lot, like, don't just take relaxants. Don't just take pills that'll relax you so you're not agitated. Yeah, fine. Yes, you'll feel better. That's true. But find out the source of your agitation. Find out where it's from. Like, a few people have told me in their lives, I mean, I was fortunate that there wasn't a tension in my home as a kid between my mother and father. And I remember even, I only remember one argument they had. And they didn't scream at each other. They weren't that kind. And I even remember what it was about. Whatever it was about. My father, found it hard to make a living. And he had a poorer relatives, and he wanted to send the money to the poorer relatives. My mother was saying, look, you got a family. Don't take away from the, so to speak, the mouths and the clothes of your children in order to support your relatives. Let them find another way, relatives in other places. But I meant, why am I telling you this story? I don't know. Once I start, But a number of people have told me lately that in their home as children, even though it looked nice from the outside, these are people American born, there was tension. And one person even said to me, you'll never know who I'm talking about, so I can say it, that he feels an anger within, which doesn't show itself. If you talk to him, he looks very pleasant and very everything, but he says he has this residual anger within that comes from the atmosphere in his home when he was a child, that there was a kind of a residual resentment or whatever between his parents. And here he is, a person who's getting close to my age and still and confided in me that he feels an anger within that only comes out occasionally. Thank God. I guess for him, he would say thank God, but there you have it. Anyway, yeah, so every word is full of all of these things. Let's do one more and then we'll switch to Rav Kook. Da ki kol teva hu koma shlema. Know that every word has full stature. It's not like you can, I mean, I suppose, there's certain conjunctions and things like that. You don't want to attach more significance than is there. But every significant word has full stature. Tzrich liot kol kocho ba. And he's saying it again. All of your power should be in that word. Kim love, because if not, then tiyeh kemo mechusar aver. Then it's like it's lacking a limb. That your prayer is lacking a limb if you don't put all of your intentions, all of your power into that word.
But Rebbe, why that imagery? Why imagery of when you lack a limb, right? If it's your leg, you can't move very far. If it's your arm, lo aleinu, then you can't reach for much. I mean, it
and it's
could have said lots of things.
You can't concentrate. Yeah,
he could have said lots of things, perhaps alluding to, I don't know, the sfirot, which represent various parts of the body. That's the only thing I can think of. Otherwise, he could have said lots of, didn't have to say missing a limb. I think it's very strange.
Well, I think it doesn't, no one should be insulted if we talk about missing a limb. But when one is missing a limb, there's a lack of completeness. Like there's things that I would want to do that he would want to do she would want to do with her right hand, and she can't do it. So I think that's the point. Like there's a lack of completeness there, and one wants their prayer to be complete. Anyway, let me just plug in. Okay, very good. Here, get under there, and you get there, and you. Wait, did I wreck the connection? Are you still there, Eva?
Yeah, you are, but very strange, bad.
Yeah, let me try to get back to where we were.
Yeah. Oh, now it's
back
good.
to where we were. Okay.
Now it's good.
Okay, so let's move on into Rav Kook, and next week, everyone being healthy and well, we'll go into the next parsha, which is Lech Lecha, and only if we finish Lech Lecha will we come back to Amud Tfilah. Like if we finish everything that all the pieces in Lech Lecha, unless, of course, people really want to stay in that thing about Tfilah, but we got the main points. We certainly got that you have to pray with one has to pray with all of one's kochot, with all of one's power. So now we to the point where
Rebbe, I just want
it all.
Rebbe,
Yeah, go ahead.
Rebbe, I want to make one other comment. It's very interesting that the Baal Shem Tov Dafka picks Parshat Noach to talk about Tfilah, and I think there's one other aspect which I find very fascinating. Is they say when Noach brought that korban before he got drunk, right before the fall, when he brought that korban, he brought that sacrifice after he was so thankful that it was like the most pure sacrifice ever brought in the existence of man. And it was reach nichoach l'Hashem. Doesn't say that very often, it had this very pleasant smell for God, whatever that means. But, that also probably, I think, has just besides the teva, which is the obvious connection, there's also this connection that Dafka in this parsha, I think, could be one of the purest prayers of all time. Which is fascinating. It's coming from Noach of all people, but that's what it seems to be from the written Torah. Well,
Rabbi Popko, in fact, quoted when he was talking about this, quoted a midrash that said that till the time of the Mashiach, there'll never be another korban that's as pure as that one. So exactly what you're saying, but a little more specific. Yeah, amazing, really amazing.
And also, I think
about like what would motivate him. Why after the flood and everything like that would motivate him to give such a pure korban? I guess it's anyway, go ahead.
The pristine beauty of the new creation. It was like brand new creation. It was the world recreated, right. And you're the one who's chosen of the entire world to keep this thing going. It must have been quite an amazing sight. I mean, who can imagine? But I just want to tell you, I think it was a good decision to go into. It's always beautiful to learn, and it's only in Parshat Noach. I don't mind going on, but it was a wise decision to go into this because it's very beautiful. The Baal Shem Tov.
Yeah,
Tefillah
well,
is
we,
always refreshing.
we can whatever. If we see the how can I put it, the energy is waning, we can go back to it. I have I marked where we got to. Did I? No, I didn't actually, but I should. Don't you remember the last few days? I want to look for a pencil and I say, aren't I terrific? I have 2 pencils sitting here. Well, oh, hello. See? All right. Anyway, let's go on now. We're going on to Rav Kook and the Shmona Kvatzim, 8 notebooks, and we are in Kovitz Gimel. We are at Reish Lamed Beit. Balei Pnimiyut. Those who are masters of spirituality, and and as I said, this is one of our disciplines here, is all the different types of adjectives he gives for all the different types of people. Balei Pnimiyut, and he's saying Gedolei HaTzadikim, Tzadikim Hagavoim, or whatever, all kinds of different things. And anyway, let's keep doing. Let's stay with this one. Those who are masters of spirituality, mitochomek yisod Torah hem yonkim. They draw from the depths of the basis of the Torah, because the basis of the Torah is spirituality. The basis of the Torah is ruchaniyut. So they draw from the depths of that. Mechadshim hem et haroteim metoch atzmiyut harata shel nishmat Torah. They renew their lights from the essential light of the soul of the Torah, the upper soul of the Torah. Because, and we've said it often enough, that the Torah is on 4 levels: Pardes, Pshat, Remez, Drush, and Sod. And, so the Nishmata Torah is the upper level. That would be the Sod level. And as a matter of fact, I have heard it said, and I've thought about it a lot, that life itself is on 4 levels. And I think I've mentioned this. Like, you meet someone in the street and have a short discussion. So your discussion was about something very mundane, let's say. I wonder when they'll be finished doing this construction in the street. But that little bit of reality also has 4 levels. There was Remez, Drush, and Sod. Maybe Remez, it's being meramez to the spiritual life, the inner life. Like, I wonder when I'll be doing my inner construction. When will I finish, if ever, to reconstruct myself into the way I should be? And drush, like what a person has to do, the ethics involved, the morality involved. And sod, the deeper connection that happened between me and this person I met in the street. Reality itself, in other words, is on 4 levels. We, of course, try, and I can't emphasize this enough. We try to be totally present. We've learned it in this forum. We know it ourselves. We try to be totally present in whatever's going on. And whatever other levels are going on also, we can think about it later. We can think if we have to make any tikkunim, if we have to correct anything. But our basic avodah is to be totally present here. And as we said many times, when one speaks to someone who has total presence, it's very different from speaking to someone who's thinking about something else at the same time. As Shlomo Carlebach said, one of the worst things is to talk to someone who really is ignoring you, who isn't paying attention to you. I mean, obviously he's saying the words, he knows the right words to say, but he's not really present with you, or she's not really present with you. So, okay. So this light light is the light of the Nishmat Torah. Because let's go back to the beginning. I talked about too long about other things. So those who are masters of the spiritual, they draw from the deepest depths of the Torah, and with their light, they bring chidushim. They use the light of the neshama of the Torah to bring chidushim. V'kasher lemod lefaret et ha'anafim mitoch hitgalmut hachitzoniyut shelahem shehem baim mimidrashei hamilim. And it's very hard for them to get into specifics. We had this many times in Rav Kook. Rav Kook feels this tension within himself, the tension between the specifics and the big picture. You know, expanses, he says, that's what I want. But on the other hand, he spent a good part of his day being involved in the specifics of halakha, in the specifics of learning Gemara and making diukim, being very focused in on the smallest details and everything. And he found this in his life was a kind of a tension in his life. Not a kind of attention, a tension in his life. So anyway, so these masters of the spiritual, they find it hard to deal with specifics. Shehem baim memidrashei amilim, v'lo shiva shel tochen chayim klaliyim. You know, without getting involved in the content of general life, of the big picture, of the big rules, you know, the big spiritual rules that are leading us on in life. Rak kishehem dolim mebeirot ha'amukim mitparchim al yadam anafim me'aleim. But, says Rav Kook, when they draw from the deep wells, you know, so taken from when you go to a well with a pail and draw water out of the well, when they draw from the deep wells, then they become blessed. Then all the specifics become blessed. So he's trying, and he did make a harmony between the fact that he desires, you know, the big picture. He desires the big rules of life, the big connection to the spiritual, but he's bothered when he has to get into the details. So what he says is that when one gets deeply into drawing out from the deepest places, the deepest wells of the spiritual, in such a way, we've talked about this a number of times, in such a way that it overwhelms the specifics, when one is involved in doing that, then it can overwhelm all the specifics of life, and even the specifics are colored by the big light, the biggest light, the universal light, and so on and so forth. And again, I say, without losing the presence in this world. Let's keep going. Reish Lamed Gimel. Kasher limod lasok binyanei halacha levad. I find it very hard, says Rav Kook, it's autobiographical, to be involved only in halacha. Became binyanei agada levad, or to be involved only in agada, you know, the kind of the deeper moral, ethical meanings, the stories that have to do with this, with the Torah. Binyanei nigla bilvad, only in halacha and Gemara. Ubinyanei nister levad, or only in Kabbalah and Chassidut. Very hard for me to just be involved in one. Kemo kein kasher li lintot b'rayon b'derech emunah pshuta levad, and also it's hard for me to be involved with simple faith alone, or b'derech mechkar b'hegayon levad, or with examination of things alone, like to be involved in any one way of looking at things and one focus, but that's it. Became betchunat ha'hitbodedut levad, to be isolated and do what I do, talk to God or whatever I do in that way. Ubetchunat ha'reyut v'ha'chevrutiut levad, or to be involved in friendship, society, things alone. Ki kol hazramim sholtim bi, because within me are all the ways of relating to the world, and not just any one way. So it's hard for me to stick with any one way because everything is streaming in me. Emunah v'chakira, faith and examination, halumiyut v'musar, national life and ethics, halacha v'agada, halacha and agada, hanigla v'anistar, the revealed Torah, the spiritual Torah, habikoret v'hashira, criticism and poetry or song. Et hakol ani mukhrach l'svog, I have to absorb everything. Umetoch ha'achdut shel ha'merabim ha'elyonim ani holech v'tzoed l'davka be'Hashem be'emet. And from the unity of all those elevated things that I get involved in, I walk with connection toward the true God, Hashem be'emet. Ula'alot et or kodesh shel Knesset Yisrael, to raise up the holy light of Knesset Yisrael, that aspect of Israel through all of history, which is free of sin and just carries on the ideals of Israel. V'rayonu b'maaseh, with thought, with act, l'mekor chayeya, for the source of its life. Hineni cholem chalamot shel gdolei gdulot, I dream dreams of the greatest things. L'shchakim ani markia, I rise up to the shchakim, to the highest places. There's that word markia again, Drew. Miatzor, matzor ein leruach dimyoni uleshifati hakavua. There's no end to my imagination and to what I aspire to. Ba'osher u'b'tov, happiness and goodness, b'torah b'kodesh, purity and holiness. Ani mishtakek tamid litabek. I always want to connect to those elevated and terrific things. Hatviyut haTorah shel hayitzur, the natural purity of creativity, shel ha'umah, of the nation, shel ha'ish, of the individual, shel ha'sha'ah, shel ha'netzach, of the present time, of eternity, umashem akifotan, that surrounds it, umashem emalei et kol tochen chayeya, and that fills all of the content of its life, hu masos chayai. That is the joy of my life. In other words, being deeply involved in life and the positive aspects of life, that is my joy. Kamo chela v'deshen tisba nafshi, just like fatness, of plants and things, that satisfies my soul. The usfatai, v'siftei v'nanot yahalal pi, joyful words come out of my mouth and make me joyful. Gadol Hashem hu lal ma'od, great is Hashem and very praised. V'ligdulato ein cheker, and in His greatness there's no examination. Abba b'gvurot Hashem, or Avo maybe, b'gvurot Hashem, I will come to the greatness of Hashem. Ashmiya kol tehilato, I will make heard all of His greatness. Odecha al ki noraot nefleti, I will thank you because I heard wondrous things, and it was wondrous to me. Neflaim ma'asecha, amazing are your deeds. V'nafshi yodat ma'od, and my soul really knows that. Now let's do another one, and then we'll take a break. Nechalim gedolim mishtafchim b'levavi, Great rivers flow in my heart, says Rav Kook. Mayanot gedolim rachavei yadayim niftachim lefanai. Great springs, which are wide, they open in front of me. HaTorah v'mitzvot v'oroteiim, Torah and mitzvahs and their lights, holchim u'mazrichim alai et zohar kaveim. They progressively shine on me the splendor of their rays. What shines? Torah and mitzvahs and their lights. Ashrei chelki, happy is my portion. Ki emunah gedolah, because there's a great faith. Emunat el chai olamim, the faith of the eternal God. El Elohei Yisrael, the God who's the God of Israel. Elohei Olam Hashem, the God of the world of Hashem. He chalki v'chevel nachlati. That is my portion, and that is my inheritance. Gorali v'kosi, my destiny and my cup runneth over. Yeshi v'chefzi, my salvation and my desire. Hakol mitztayer lefanai b'shita shleima umavheket. Everything takes form in front of me in a full and bright way. Svatai, ktsara v'ayefa megalot al yada. My lips are tired and too small in a way to reveal through it. Gam ktsei ktsata mirananut or chaim aruchanim. Even a small part of the joy of the light of spiritual life. Hamimalim et kol kravai, which fills all of my insides. Kol atzmatai tamarna Hashem mi chamocha. All of my essence says, Hashem, who is like you? And I will sing of your greatness, and I will sing of in the morning I will sing of your kindness. Okay, let's stop there. Today is the 27th, and we'll take a 10-minute break before we get into Gemara. So it is now 11:36. Let's get back together again at 11:46. Okay, see you then. Hi, everybody. Now we are continuing with Gemara, and we find ourselves in an interesting interesting place. And that is in relation to the brachot. What if somebody made a bracha? Oh, sorry, I should tell where we are exactly. Some people follow along within the Sefer. We're on Mem Amud Beit, and we're where it says Binyamin Raya Krach Rifta Vamar. I guess that would be about a third of the way through. No, a third of the way through the whole page. And all right, well, let's just do it, and then because we got into a thing last time, which was very interesting, where we had two opinions. We had Rav Huna, I think, and Rav Yochanan, where, or maybe it was Rav Yossi and Rav Meir. Yeah, no, it was actually Rav Yossi, I think, and maybe Rav Meir, whatever it was. There are two ideas with the brachot. One is that you can say any bracha as long as you're acknowledging that this is from Hashem, that this food, is a blessing from Hashem, that I should eat this food. And you can say basically whatever you want. Like the example that he brings here is, how pleasant is this bread, blessed is Hashem who created it. That's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is that no, you cannot change what the Chachamim said. And that was said, let's see, yeah, that's Rabbi Yossi. That was Rav Meir. Rav Meir is the one who says, whatever is giving praises of Hashem for the food is fine. The other is Rav Yossi, is much more, strict about it. And he says, no, the rabbis made the brachot. And the brachot are in the form of Bruchat Hashem, Elken Lecholam, whatever it happens to be, Brei Priya Eitz, Brei Priya Adama. And he says, Kol ha-mishaneh mematbeya shetavu chachamim bebrachot lo yetza yedei chovato. Anyone who changes that matbeya, that form, that formal form that the chachamim said for the brachot, has not made a bracha. So it's like, what we said, remember a page or so ago, it's like you had hana from this world without recognizing that it's from Hashem, is like stealing. You had pleasure from this world through the food without recognizing that it's from Hashem, that is like stealing. So those are the two opinions here. We, as you know, we go like Rabbi Yossi, and we say the brachot the way the Chachamim told us to say it, which is very interesting in its own right, isn't it? Because it takes away every possibility of creativity within the bracha. I might have thought, I'm arguing something that, I'm just arguing it for the sake of arguing. I don't necessarily believe it. But here you are, you're recognizing the master of the universe, the creator of this universe. And these days, the scientists talk about parallel universes. You're recognizing that creator created this thing in front of me. What an amazing insight that is. And it really calls out all the creative forces in me. So shouldn't I be able to thank Hashem with whatever the creative forces that are in me tell me to say, so to speak, my own creative forces? Isn't that a greater praise of Hashem, that I bring from my own inner life those ways of thanking Hashem? And instead, we are told, no, there's a certain formula that you say, that is what you say. And if you didn't, then lo yatsa yedei chovato, then you didn't do your duty in relation to saying the brachot. So those are basically the two opinions that we have here. So now let's go on. We're starting where it says Binyamin Raya Krach Rifta Vamar. Binyamin the shepherd, he took bread and he said the bracha instead of what we say, Amotzi lechem min haaretz, instead of what Rav Yossi would have wanted him to say. Brich mare dehai pita. Blessed is the creator, blessed is the master of this bread. Amar Rav. So Rav said, Yatsa. That's it. That's a bracha. That's a fine bracha. V'ha Rav. But don't you know that Rav said, Kol bracha she'ein ba'haskarat Hashem ein a bracha? That any bread that doesn't mention Hashem is not a bracha. All he did was he alluded to Hashem, the master of this bread, the Amar, Brichach Mana Mare Dehai Pita. No, so blessed is the merciful one, that's mentioning Hashem, the high pita of this bread. Vaha be'inan, he says, don't you know that we need shalosh brachot? We need 3 brachot. So what are the 3 brachot that we need? Okay, we're going to explain it. So, I'm sorry, I said it wrong. What he said was that was the after bracha. That was Birkat Hamazon. So, okay, even if you want to be a little liberal in relation to Birkat Hamazon and say that that was okay, but after all, our tradition is that Birkat Hamazon is shalosh brachot. Hazanat Hakol, Al Haaretz Vel Hamazon, and so on. Uvnei Yerushalayim. So how could he possibly have been Yotzei with that? V'habi'in and shlosh brachot. We need 3 brachot. Ma yatsa. How could he have done the mitzvah of Birkat Hamazon with that bracha, which is first of all not the form that the rabbi said, but secondly is only one, so to speak, piece of thanks. Deka'amar Rav Nami Yatsa Yedei Bracha Rishona. Oh, Rav said, no, he only was Yotzei the first bracha, Hazana Sakol, but not the other 2 brachot. So we, in our tradition of getting this conversation to us, something was left out. It wasn't that he was Yotzei, he was Yotzei the first bracha. My Kamash Malan. What do we learn from this? Afal Gav Damra B'Lashon Chol. Tanina, even though you say it in a way which is not a kind of a way of holiness, if you like, we learned the following. Eilu nemarim b'chol nashon. These things can be said in any language. For us would be like in English, right? Or even changing the words, maybe. Parshat Sota. Remember when the man saw his wife was alone with a man in a locked room. So she has to say a certain formula. Vidui Meiser, when one is bringing their Meiser to the Beit HaMikdash and makes a certain formula. Kriyat Shema, Shema itself, the Shema, Utfilah, prayer, Birkat HaMazon, and Birkat HaMazon. So those are things, it would seem, that could be said any way that you want to say it. B'chol lashon, as it said in the piece of the Gemara, Itzrich. No, I had to tell you what I told you. Sal kadait techamina. You might have thought that I had said or that I would say. Hani mili, when is that? The amra b'lashon chol ki hechi d'tekina rabbanan b'lashon kodesh. When you say something in a lashon chol, meaning English, French, whatever, but you do it in the same way, it's in lashon kodesh. Blessed are you, King of our God, King of the universe, who created the fruit of the tree. Avalo amra b'lashon chol ki hechi tekinu rabbanan b'lashon kodesh eimalo kamash malan. But let's say someone didn't say it, in another language, but rather said it with different words altogether, then you might think that works. So you're being told that in fact, according to this, it would work. But of course, we don't. For our halacha, we don't do that. All right, let's go further. Gufa. Gufa, remember, means we mentioned something in passing, and now we're going to get into it with more detail, in more detail. Amar Rav. Rav said, Kol bracha she'ein b'haskarat Hashem ein a bracha. Any bracha that doesn't mention Hashem, that's not a bracha. In other words, even if it's not the way the Chachamim set it up, it could be okay, provided Hashem is mentioned. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, Rabbi Yochanan said, Kol bracha she'ein ba malchut ein a bracha. Any bracha that doesn't mention kingship is not a bracha. Like we say, Baruch atah Hashem, Elokeinu melech ha'olam. So it doesn't bother him to say something different from the way the rabbis set it up, but you have to mention kingship in it. Amar Abaya said, Kavatei derav mistavra. I like better what Rav said. Anything that doesn't mention the name of Hashem is not a bracha. Lo detanya, like we learned in a bright, lo avarti mitzvatech velo shachachti. I did not be over, I did not do a sin from your mitzvahs, and I have not forgotten. Lo avarti, what does it mean? So now he darshans it. And darshaning can be sometimes what we would consider a little far-fetched, but now he darshans it. Lo avarti milavarechacha. I didn't do a sin, so to speak, and I did bless you. V'lo shachachti, and I didn't forget. Why do you need them both? One would have been enough. So what's the lo shachachti coming to say? Melaskir shimcha alav. The mentioning your name, Hashem, on it. V'ilu malchut lo katani, but it doesn't say anything about malchut, about Melech HaOlam, just, to mention Hashem in it. That's what Rav said. For Rabbi Yochanan, Tani v'lo shachachti, it says, Lo shachachti milaskir shimcha u'malchut chalav. He learns that part of the phrase, Lo avarti mitzvatech v'lo shachachti, The lo shachachti is going both on malchut, and it's also going on your name. So there you have it. So he found, everyone found a support in the literature, in the pasuk. Okay, and we have no conclusion here. You know, the Gemara is not a conclusive halachic book. It's a book of discussion for the most part, even though sometimes, as we know, it tells us the halacha, the hilchot kacha bekacha. But at any rate, it does tell us that the major parts of the bracha, whether the bracha is the way the rabbis set it up, or whether it's not the way the rabbis set it up, that major parts of them are the name of Hashem and kingship. That Hashem, you know, is the master of everything. Okay, now let's go on to the next piece. And we're at a Mishnah. We're at a new Mishnah. The Mishnah says, okay, exactly as we do it. Something that doesn't grow out of the earth, we always use the examples of eggs or meat or something like that. It's not a part of the earth, so of course you can't say Brei Pri Eitz or Brei Pri Adama. What do you say? You say Shakol Niya B'Dvaro. Halachometz Valanovalot Valagovai Shakol Niya B'Dvaro. On vinegar, which is very bitter, novalot, which are fruit, which has not yet become ripe, and govai is grasshoppers. You know, there are grasshoppers that are kosher. And they say, I don't know if they still have it because they're getting further away from their sources, but they say the Yemenites had a tradition of how to identify the kosher grasshoppers. At any rate, all of those things, the Tana Kama says, Shekol Niya B'Dvaro. If you're going to drink vinegar for whatever reason, you're going to eat fruit that is not ripe, or you're going to eat grasshoppers, say Shekol Niya B'Dvaro. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Rabbi Yehuda says, Kol shehu min klala ein mevarchim alav. Anything that's like a curse. And what does a curse mean? That it's a negative. There's something negative in it. There's something negative in drinking vinegar that's bitter. There's something negative in eating fruit which is not ripe yet. It has it doesn't have a proper taste. And grasshoppers, I'm a little surprised because I would have thought that in a society that ate grasshoppers, then you'll excuse me, that it's something like eating chicken, you know. But it seems here that it's considered a type of klala. It's considered a negative. Why would grasshoppers be considered a negative? Rashi doesn't say anything. He says they come from something that's occurred. Oh, you know what it is? For us, you know, he mentions here grasshoppers and you know, those flying insects that come and can sometimes destroy a whole crop. So since, you know, and we can, some of them, if we know the simanim, how to identify them, we can eat them. But since their basic nature is to do negative for us, they destroy our crops. Therefore, Rav says, say Shakol Niya B'Dvaro, but Rav Yehuda says, no, they're not. There's nothing positive in vinegar when it's with other things can be positive, but just to drink vinegar alone, or to eat fruit that's not ripe, or to have these grasshoppers, locusts that come and ruin our crops, something that comes from a cursed kind of thing, we make no bracha on it at all. That's Rabbi Yehuda. So let's say if a person is really, really, really hungry and has to have something, so he takes cherries that are not ripe yet, still green, if you can eat them, at a certain point, but it doesn't taste like a cherry, then according to Rabbi Yehuda, you would make no bracha on them at all. Hayu lefanav minim harbe. And I love this little piece of Mishnah here. If someone has a lot of things in front of him, a number of things that he's going to make a blessing on, so Rabbi Yehuda says, Im yesh beineim min shiva. If it's from the 7 types of food that Eretz Yisrael is praised for, from one of those 7, on that, Allah hu mevarech. Im yesh beineim min shiva, Allah hu mevarech. So if there's anything from those 7, that comes first. And by the way, that has an order as well. We're not dealing with it now, but there's also an order to the, let's see if I can get all 7 this time. Olives, pomegranates, dates, figs, wheat. I have 5. Last time I got 6 at least before Drew helped me. Olives, pomegranates, dates, figs, wheat. Okay, and 2 others. So you make your blessing on.
Rebbe, you got what is it? Barley.
Oh, barley. Go ahead, and 1 more.
And what are we missing? Figs. You got figs?
Yes, I do.
You got pomegranates.
Yes.
Zeit shemen udvash, and the ale geffen and the grapes.
Grapes I didn't mention, no.
Okay.
Should have. It's the most common one, at least for most of us. At any rate, okay. So you have in front of you a number of different things with different brachot, and you have also apples and oranges but you have something from the 7. Let's say you have grapes. Then, according to Rabbi Yehuda, the first thing you make a blessing on is the grapes. Now, the grapes, of course, when you make a blessing on that will include everything else. But and then you bless on whatever else. You have milk in front of you, make on the milk. You have tomato, make on the tomato. Tomato comes first also, but that's not in this Mishnah. So I like that. I like the Chachamim's emphasis on our personal desires. So whichever one you want, make a blessing on that. Whichever one you like. So if among all those 7 from Eretz Yisrael, you don't especially like that, but let's say you're crazy about tomatoes, then strangely enough, you make on the tomato, and you make on whatever is your favorite. Okay, let's get into the Gemara a little bit, or more than a little bit, we'll see. Tanu Rabbanan. Let's review the Mishnah because it's an important one for our everyday life. So if something does not grow in the ground, you say shakol. We know that. Eggs and meat, whatever. On vinegar, unripe fruit, or on grasshoppers, according to Tanakama, you say shakol. According to Rabbi Yehuda, you don't say anything because it's coming out of a curse. If you have a number of things in front of you to make blessings on, Rabbi Yehuda says you take from the 7 fruit that Eretz Yisrael is known for, and you make your blessing on that first. And the Chachamim say, whatever you like, you make your blessing on. whatever is your favorite. Gemara, Tana Rabbanan. The rabbis taught in a Breita, Al davar she'ein gedulo min haaretz, something that does not grow in the ground. What is that? Kigon basar behemot chayot va'ofot v'dagim. Omer shakol niya b'dvaro. Like beef, beet meat, or from deer, which are kosher and are shechted and everything. Chicken, fish, you say shakol. Ala chalav, ala beitzim, ala gvina, omer shakol. On milk, eggs, and cheese, you say shakol. Ala pat she'afsha, ala yayin shehikrim, vala tavshil shavar tzurato, omer shakol. So on bread, which has become a little dry. I mean, obviously, if it's so dry you can't eat it, you're not eating it. But it's become somewhat dry. On wine that has become somewhat sour, and on cooked food whose taste is not so good now, you say shakol, because you don't want to make the regular bracha on it if it's not in its finest form. But nonetheless, it is edible, and you get some pleasure, because we already learned that if you get no pleasure from it, or if it comes from a curse, you don't make a bracha at all. Ala melech v'ala zamit v'al kmeim u'petriot omer shakol. On salt, some people like salt. They would even, if you're going to take salt alone, say shakol. Zamit, what is zamit exactly? Just a minute. Maybe Rashi tells us here. Let's have a look. Well, it must say it somewhere. I'll look it up. That is what we do, right? Okay, my dear friends, I'm getting the dictionary out. That's what we do. Problem is, we have to find the dictionary. All right, I found it. Oh my, okay. I think we've had it before. Brine, like if you're drinking brine, and I can see some people who really like salty things, I could see them actually drinking brine. But anyway, he says on that, you say shahakol. Valkmeim u'petriot.
What is brine? What is brine?
Brine is like, when you have pickles,
yeah,
the liquid that the pickle.
I know some people drinking this, yeah.
Oh, do they? Oh,
yeah, I know. But some people, they want to be, slanker.
Maybe it's even healthy, because it's picked up from the pickles. Who knows? Not pickles
Yeah,
are
yeah.
nothing.
And very good soup you can make from.
Oh, yeah?
In Poland, yeah, in Polish, really, in Polish, in Ost Poland, is
They would drink brine. Uh-huh.
you don't know from your mother? Your mother didn't do
No,
it?
my mother never did it. No, she
Oh,
never made
yeah.
brine as a soup or anything like that. No.
Oh, strange.
Yeah. Well, listen, she did a lot of Canadian cooking rather than Polish
Oh,
cooking.
yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, even though Polish was her language, that was her
But
first
not
language.
cooking. But
But
not
anyway,
cooking.
but not cooking, right? But not in cooking. So in all of those things and mushrooms and things, you say shakol. So the Gemara asks, "Lememra, do you mean to say the kmeim u'pitayot lav gedule karka ninu? What do you mean? Mushrooms and funguses, they don't grow out of the ground. Of course they grow out of the ground. So why do we say shakol instead of saying brei priyadama? You just got through telling me that whatever grows out of the ground, you say brei priyadama. Then you come along and you tell me that if it's a mushroom or a fungus, then you say shakol. Why? It grows out of the ground. V'had Tanya, didn't we learn in a Braita? Hanoder mepeirot haaretz, asur bepeirot haaretz umutar b'kmeim u'petriot. And here we have something to support the idea that you would say shakol on funguses and mushrooms. If someone takes a neder, they say, I am not going to eat. They make a promise that they're not going to eat the fruit of the ground, then they cannot eat the fruit of the ground. In other words, that would include, I think, it would include what we call all vegetables and also apples, pears, and things like that. But, says this Braita, it's permitted for them to eat mushrooms and funguses. And if someone says what I said before, how do you say it? I don't want to have any of the fruit of the ground. So then she can still have mushrooms and funguses. But if someone says kol gedule karka, anything that grows in the ground, then asur af b'kmeim u'pitriot. Then it's also asur mushrooms and fungus, because the logic being that mushrooms and fungus, while they do grow from the ground, but they're not what we would call the fruit of the ground. It's kind of the, although, for us, some of us, mushrooms are, among our favorite foods, but nonetheless, it's not the fruit of the ground. It's just kind of the extra that the ground gives out. Amar Abaya. Abaya says, Mirba ravu me'ara, minke lo yanke me'ara. Yes, it does grow from the ground, but it does not get its nutrition from the ground. It is not yonik from the ground. All the things that, we talked about this yesterday, all the things that we know about that get their nutrition from the ground, apples, oranges, tomatoes, lettuce. So, it's kind of miraculous if you think about it, that in the ground they get their nutrition, but it says no. But mushrooms don't get nutrition from the ground. They grow on the ground, but the nutrition comes kind of from the air. But it talks about something does not grow from the ground. Tani al davar she'ein yonek minaris. What it means is something that does not yonek, like a baby is yonek from his mother's milk. Something that does not get its nutrition from the ground, that that you say shakol, you do not say berei priyadama. Okay, let's leave it at that. It's 27th. Have a great day, everyone. Tomorrow is Friday, and Friday we do Rough Cook at 10 o'clock, as usual. So I hope to see you tomorrow. And if you find yourself busy, have a great Shabbat.
Shukach, very interesting.
And have a great everything.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And some of you we probably will see over Shabbat. Okay, be well, everybody. All the best.
Yom Tov.
Yom Tov to you.
Thank you.
Koyach.